good amount of backspin on it, but not so much that we pop it off the table. To about there and go boop. What's cracking, people? Angelic Mayhem here. Welcome to the second video in my How to Play Billiards series. And today I'm going to be talking about English. Okay, so why is it called English? Well, when pool began, it was a very gentlemanly sport, and it was all basically shots done where you hit the center of the ball, okay? And that was very predictable. You knew exactly where the ball was going to bounce. If I hit it here, I know that it's going to then ricochet over to here, and then that's going to send it down the table towards that pocket, okay? I know that because mathematically I've played pool so many times that I just know the angles of the table, and I know where the ball is going to go, all right? And so was true back in the 17 and 1800s. You know, the great pool players just simply played so much pool, they knew exactly what the ball was going to do. Now, along comes this guy, and his name is Jack Carr, okay? He's an Englishman, and thus that's where the name English comes from. He was a rogue, okay, not a gentleman, and he figured out that if you added chalk to the end of the tip of your cue, that when you struck the ball off-center, you were able to give it spin in order to have it do things that were unexpected. Now, Jack Carr was so good at this that had he been born 40 years earlier, they would have burned him at the stake for being a witch. And he was able to sell out showrooms all over France and, you know, Western Europe simply because he would walk in and beat their best pool player and make the cue ball do all these amazing things that people had no idea how he was able to do that. And he was able to do it with English. So now I'm going to teach you how English works. And basically, it's very simple. What you have here is a standard pool shot, and you can see there's a little black spot on the ball. Again, I'm in the game Pool Nation, so you're going to be able to see exactly where the ball will go depending upon how I change the English. The only English that I want to talk about at the moment, well, first of all, why do you use English? All right, in my first video, I told you do not use English except in emergency, and I stand by that statement. You can win, I would say, 80% of every game that you ever play simply by using just regular pool shots and altering the amount of energy that you apply to the cue ball in order to make sure that it ends up where you want it to end up, okay? The other times, you may run into situations where you're trapped behind another ball, or you have a shot that's dead on at a pocket and you're worried about scratching. And it's at these times where you're going to need English, all right? So how does English work? When you hit the cue ball, okay, there's a false perception that the cue ball is rolling across the table. It actually is not. When you hit the cue ball initially, there's so much force on the cue ball that it creates a pressure situation where the pressure at the top of the cue ball is different than the pressure at the bottom of the cue ball, and the cue ball is actually floating, it's gliding across the table. It's not rolling yet, okay? Assuming that you put enough force behind it. If you, let's say I took a shot and I only went to the first wafer or the second wafer, it would actually roll, okay, because you're not putting a lot of force behind it. But especially on a break, okay, or anywhere up in here, you know, that much force on the ball, it will initially be gliding across the table until it makes contact. Once it makes contact with another ball, the energy is no longer so much that it can glide, so now it has to roll. It's at that point that any spin that's on the ball will use the friction from the felt on the table in order to cause the ball to do things in weird ways. So there are two kinds of spin, okay? There's over-under spin, and then there's side spin. Over-under is, this is over, right? Overspin, and this is underspin. And then side spin would be if you wanted to go left or right, okay? You also cannot use English to jump the ball. There are a lot of people who like to jam the stick all the way down here, pull it back as much as possible, and then cause the ball to physically leave the table, okay? Now, in Pool Nation, that's not possible. I suspect it's because that's an illegal pool shot. You're not allowed to do that in any game of pool anywhere in the world. It is, of course, possible, but basically what you're doing is picking up the ball and hurling it down the table with your stick. All right, that's bad. You're not allowed to do that. So you do not jump with English, you jump with Massey. And we're going to cover Massey in another video, but for right now, let's just talk about English. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a series of jump cuts here. I'm going to find unique situations where English is called for, and then I'll do them one by one. Now, a lot of you may be saying, well, you know, when I watch pool on TV, they use English to curve the ball. That is incorrect. They do not use English to curve the ball. They use Massey to curve the ball. It's a completely different type of shot. In this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how this ball will not curve, okay? Theoretically, there's a 5 in between me and the 3. All I would have to do is do a very gradual curve in order to hit that 3, okay, which is shown by the line. Now, the reason why this does not work is that in order for the spin to affect the trajectory, you would actually have to strike something. So, even though it looks like it should, it does not, okay? You still strike the 5. Alright, so here's a case for overspin. In this case, what I have to do is I have to put down the 5 and then come back for the 6. Using any sort of backspin will cause the ball to shoot over here somewhere, so that's not going to work out. And what I need to do here in this case is overspin it, strike the 5 ball, putting it into the corner pocket, and then I'm going to come down here, bounce off this fender, and then come back towards the spots in the middle of the table. Alright, so that's what I'm going to be shooting for. I just want to give it one of these, and then boom. Off the rails, and I actually went a little bit further than I was looking to. I was hoping to keep it near the spots, but I'm actually down here. There we go. Here's another good instance of overspin. Now, obviously, I can just pocket the 6, okay? But that's going to leave the cue ball in a really bad spot. Why? Because the only other 2 balls on the table are down at the other end, all right? So, what I want to do here is use overspin to give my ball enough momentum to ricochet off of these and come back down the table to somewhere more respectable. You don't want to go any more than that because you run the risk of possibly shanking your shot, and then, you know, that's where the stick literally glances off the top of the ball and it just rolls a couple inches. You don't want to do that. So right here should be just fine. And again, we want to make sure that it goes into the pocket, and indeed it will. And go. Bingo. That's exactly what I was looking for. Now that I'm back down this end of the table, it's going to be much easier for me to pocket this 7 and leave it in the position where, for the 9 ball, I can just come back, and that's the win. Now, I happen to have a ball in hand because he scratched, all right? But I'm going to use this as an opportunity to show you some English, okay? Now, in my last video, I told you all about how it's important to always think about your next shot, okay? That's what pool is all about. It's about knowing where the cue ball is going to end up, all right? And then planning for that. So, here is the 3. I must sink the 3 first, okay? So, what I want to do is I want to put backspin on it. And I would put a lot of backspin on it to drag it back down the table. Now, where exactly is it going to land? Well, theoretically, if it goes directly backwards, it will avoid that pocket, hopefully, and it will bounce somewhere right in here off of this cushion and end up over here against this cushion. I then will have a shot for a 4-8 combo. So that's what I'm looking for at the moment, and we're going to give that a shot. Let me come back down here, and we want to put good amount of backspin on it, but not so much that we pop it off the table. To about there and go boop. Even better. Alright. Now ideally, if I had put enough spin on it, I could have continued. It would have bounced off there and ended up over here. But I can still make this shot. So 4-8 combo. Always make sure you call your garbage. Alright, now let's talk about side English, okay? This is a shot that is worthy of Gentleman Jack himself, alright? And basically, what is wrong here is that there is no way, okay, no way for me to bounce the ball off of a rail or a series of rails or a combination of rails, even in this direction, for me to get to the 2, okay? If I had just passed the green ball, okay, I can plow into the blue ball. I can make sure that I don't scratch because I have to hit the 2 and then the 2 has to hit the fender. In order to make sure that that happens, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw some side English, just a little bit, okay? So let's give this a shot. And we're going to, boop. There we go. The 2 balls running down the table. It will hit a fender, and I didn't scratch. All right, now here's one of the hardest pool shots that there is, okay? I must go for the 6 because I'm in the middle of a game of 9-ball. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to aim for this fender, okay? And then come back here for the 6. Now, there really is no other place on the table that I can go, okay? I can't really run this 6 down the table because I have a 7 there, and that would be a tremendously difficult shot anyway. But I think that I can make this. So what I want to do is I want to put left English on the ball. All right, so it should look something like this, okay? 5 bars should be enough because I don't want to scratch. But I did anyway. But I got my ball. So, welcome to Dirty Pool with Angelic Mayhem. This guy has left me in an awful position. And there is literally only one shot on the entire board that will get me down to the 1 ball, which is over there by that corner on the far side of the table. It's this one right here, right? What I'm trying to do, and let me show you the overhead, is not get to the 7, but I actually want to come down here further, bounce it off that rail, and come back up and just touch the 1. That's all I need to do is touch the 1. As long as the cue ball hits 2 rails and then the ball, I'm good. So that's what I'm looking to do. It should be about right there. But why is this good for English? Well, let me show you. We'll go back here. I'm going to give it tons of topspin. And the reason why is because the second that this ball touches this fender, which is right in front of me, that spin will be converted into momentum. If I plow into this ball as if I were braking and slam it into the fender, that's not going to work because the ball will literally jump off the table, okay? So what I want to do is I want to put topspin on it. When the ball hits the fender will translate that topspin into speed and give me enough momentum to get down the other end of the table and bump into the ball that I'm trying to hit. So what I'm going to do here is we'll just do, let's say 4.5, like that. And I hit it. All right, now this shot right here is actually doable in real life, okay? Basically, what happens is I'm trapped in the pocket, and I have no shot at all, let me show you, on this ball right here, okay? You can see that it's just going to send it into the fender. I can't get it into that other pocket. I can't really get anything on it to begin with, and I have to hit it because I'm playing 9-ball. So what I want to do here is I just want to go total right English, all right? Big time right English. And I want to rail the ball into that fender and then bring it back to strike the 6 and hopefully put it in the pocket. Alright, so this is what the shot should look like. There will be extreme English on this ball, so once it hits the fender, it should ricochet back and actually strike the 6. And I have enough power on it that it should have enough to get the ball into the pocket. Oh, I actually overcorrected for that. But that was a good attempt. Alright, so here's a good opportunity to use some English. Basically, what I want to do is I need to be able to strike the 7, but the 9 ball is completely covering it. And there are other opportunities for me, like, for instance, this shot would be a good one. However, I think what I'm going to do is just cheat over here a little bit and then use English to guarantee that I hit it. And indeed I do. And it hits the 9, and the question becomes, does the 9 make it? And it does. How about that? Alright, so what I want to show you for this shot is that the ball that I must hit, okay, is the one at the far end of the table there. It's the 6. And then I have to come back down here for the 7. Now, the 7 is totally covered by the 9, okay? That's going to be a tremendously difficult shot. So actually, what I'd like to do is, since I happen to have ball in hand, I want to put the ball, say, about right here. Again, we have tremendous bottom spin, and I just want, say, about there. Should be fine. Now, regardless of the fact that I didn't actually get it to go back towards the balls that I wanted, I now have a shot on the 7. So it was still a good strategy, even though it didn't quite work out the way that I wanted it to. And you should expect that in pool. It is, you know, it's very easy to look at this game where the lines are drawn by computers and say, oh yes, that's exactly how that should play out. But, you know, in real life, when you do underspin or overspin, there is a chance that you could accidentally, you know, pull it to the right or pull it to the left a little bit. So, you know, these things are very imprecise. You should expect that. That's why I tell you, you know, you shouldn't use English unless it's an emergency, because you know, there's always a chance that you could just moving the tip of the cue, you know, a millimeter to the right or the left could completely change where that shot is going to go. All right. All right. Now here's an instance where English can come in handy. Basically, I can easily put this 7 ball into the side pocket, but the cue ball is going to run straight back down the table over here somewhere. What I'm concerned about is there's actually this 8 over here, all right? So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some side English on it. I'm pushing the limits of what this ball is able to do and stay on the table, but we'll give this a shot. 7 ball goes in. And boom, set myself up for the 8. Now, here is how you practice English in real life, okay? What you want to do is you want to set up 3 balls, including the cue ball, exactly like this, okay? Then you want a 3rd ball all the way down at the other end of the table. You want to make sure that the 5 is in such a position that you cannot shoot at that 3, okay? And there are no other avenues for you to take, except to bounce it off of this fender, all right? Now, what you do is you sneak over to the right, and you can see that it will actually change the trajectory of the ball so that instead of doing what you would think it would do, which is that, you're going to bring it back. Let me show you what that looks like from the overhead. Okay. It's going to race the cue ball back down the table and then strike the 3, theoretically. Somewhere there. And we're going to pop it. It avoids both balls. And now I missed the 3, but you should be able to do that in real life, and actually, you know, that will give you a good understanding of the amount of energy required to bring the cue ball back down the table, and also how to apply English to make it curve around the balls that you don't want to strike. So this is one of those emergency shots that you would use some English for in order to prevent a scratch, okay? This is a 9 ball. Obviously, I can go down there and try to aim for the corner. However, whenever you're presented with an opportunity like this, you should always try and go for the pocket that's closest, okay? Now, I know from years of playing that this is an instant scratch, but use just a little bit of English, okay? And you make sure that you're aimed up so that the 9 ball goes directly into the back of the pocket. You can use a little bit more energy. Say about right there. And prevent the scratch. So in this shot, you can see that I'm basically flush with this 9, okay? I have no angle whatsoever. But what I want to do is I want to hit it just off center, okay? Which will theoretically rocket it into the fender and then bring it back down here for this pocket, okay? So that's what we're looking to do. But you can probably tell that because the cue ball is there, it will probably interfere with the 9's path and bounce it off in some sort of weird direction. So what you want to do is just basically put a little bit of topspin on it, okay? I'm sorry, topspin and then to the right, okay? Which will drag the cue ball out of the area, allowing the 9 to do its thing. So basically, we want to jack it up. Now, and I have to compensate for that by aiming directly at the 9, like such. And then, if I let this rip... Oh! So close! But you get the point. Alright, so now I'm going to show you my favorite break. Okay, and yes, I have a favorite break. Basically, what you want to do is you want to bring the ball over here. And you want to aim for just outside of the 1 ball. Bring it up and to the right, like such. About right there should be fine. And then plow into it. You get a nice ball dispersion, and I would say maybe 10 to 20% of the time, you'll sink a ball on the first shot. Alright, I'm going to show you another break. This is called the corner, I call it the corner rocket. Go right here. Basically, this gives you the opportunity to kind of cut, you know, like slip your hand onto the corner. And then if we go like this, and we want to aim straight for the 1 ball, so we just want to be a little bit over, there we go. Boom. What this does is it gives tremendous amount of momentum, and it really does a good dispersion of the balls. So, you know, I find that it's one of the better shots. Plus, because you can put your hand, you know, like literally on the corner, it gives you a little bit of leverage and lets you do some good stuff. So, you know, I like that break a lot. So, two things to remember about English, okay? The farther that you have to use your English, the less of a chance that it's going to work, okay? English is an up-close sort of situation where, you know, the more felt that you have to cover, the greater the chance it is that the spin on the ball will grab the felt and the friction will alter the ball in such a way that you'll miss your shot. The second thing to keep in mind is that, and this isn't reflected obviously in a video game, but you need to chalk up as much as you can, okay? You can play straight pool without any English at all with a tree branch if you so choose, but in order to use English, you need to have as good a tip as possible, okay? So ideally you have your own stick and you're not using one of the ones that's in the pool hall, and you are not using your stick to break because that's how you destroy the tip of your stick, okay? And then you chalk the crap out of it. Well, anyway, thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please click the like button or subscribe to my YouTube channel for more content like this in the future. I'm Angelic Mayhem, and I'll see you next time.